Okay, so today's focus is the rapture. Okay, so we are in it, and it's so funny. I don't know if any of you guys are shopping on Facebook Marketplace right now, but if you want a almost free car, or you might want to jump on that bandwagon of everybody who's putting everything up for sale because, they think the world is ending, which there is one that is ending, right? And we have officially entered this Libra season. I believe it's as of today. Happy fall, happy equinox. So I kind of want to just go over what the last week energetically has been, and then from spirit direct from you, no architect, no AI, just direct channeled message for today. Those of you guys who are in the Decode the Mirror class, I have a body, mind, soul video that's a demonstration that I will be uploading hopefully today. And it's body work. It doesn't take long. It's something that Spirit is recommending that you guys do 3 times a day. And by the end of this session, those of you guys will kind of understand like where we're going with it because we are kind of coming in hot. I was up all night writing last night, and this morning we made an album for the kind of the neural somatic resonance part of this, to kind of like get that new loop, that hook in your mind, because the new direction of where your GPS is going to be coming from is going to be literally like upside down. Okay. So if you guys ever watched the show Stranger Things, it was like the upside down world. That's where we've been living. Now we're going to be flipping everything over, and we're going to be working from the ground up. In the spiritual world, you're taught that the crown is like where creator is. And creator is when when you bring heaven to earth, creator is actually, it comes from the void. So creator is going to be coming from the root. And this is where I am that I am really comes into play. So again, we've known up here, because all is mind, that we are creator. But what we didn't realize is that we've been creating with our ego consciousness, through the misguided nervous system, right? Through the hijacked nervous system. And the ego consciousness has been pretending to be creator, not on purpose to hurt you. It's a survival mechanism. When you are disconnected from your source, someone's got to be in charge, right? So every trauma that built an identity needed a master. Okay. And so as above is below. So our ego consciousness has been made in the image of the creator who has been playing the simulation. All right. And so our ego has mimicked the simulation creator. Okay. And now that we are shifting back into this open era, we're going to be inverting everything that has felt totally normal. So it's almost like if you took your camera and you put it upside down, like that's what the new world looks like. So everything is going to be coming from the root up. All right. And that means that creator is going to be anchored deeply in your roots, not your mind. This is where thought becomes a servant of knowing. Okay. So when you know something, it's not like you have to have thoughts that get you into that space. It's just a knowing. It's a gut knowing. And this is why out of your entire chakra system, while those first 3 chakras were under such deep hypnosis and so deeply poisoned, right? Because if you look at the seat of the soul, it is time for now, with the help of Gaia, that the soul will truly resurrect embodied, right? We've been kind of telepathically been connecting with our soul, and the whole time it's almost like ego's driving the car, right? And then the soul has been the backseat driver. And now that's going to flip. Okay. And the soul will be driving and the ego will be the backseat driver, because alchemy is all of me. So we're not killing the ego. The ego isn't going anywhere. It's going to be repatterned and reorganized and reset and reconciled. Okay. So that's nothing is going to be lost or found necessarily. It's just about return to order, because the seven hermetic laws that both sides of the game have been playing, which means if you're here to play heaven on earth or you're here to play hell on earth, both of those created simulations, because it's all a simulation. Even anchoring heaven to earth is going to be a simulation, right? Because you're non-physical in who you are energetically. So when you are embodied, it's still simulation of your hologram. That's why I can look into someone's field. I was telling this to Donna yesterday. I can look into someone's field and tell you that in their reality, they live on a round globe. They live on a whole earth. And this person over here is living in a flat earth, because it is the dominant belief systems that actually build your hologram. So whatever you have believed wholeheartedly, all right, it's going to generate your simulation. And so if you have been, which we have obviously in this group, we've been doing the inner work. Most of us are less concerned if the earth is flat or round, because we know it's a hologram and we know the state of being that we reside in is the only thing that matters, right? Because that's what's going to create form for us. So we can kind of let go what is truth, what is not truth, for anything other than our soul. Because we can no longer be led through thought and the heart, which we talked about last week. And we talked about, and I don't remember what class at this point, because I've been going through it too, but it's like when we think and then we graduate that thought into the heart, no matter what you have done in this incarnation, bad, good, indifferent, guilt, shamed, humiliated, whatever the case have been, every single thing you've done or not done has actually come from really good intentions, like everything. Okay. And you may not believe this with your whole heart, but even the people who hurt and raised you, even the simulators, have good intentions, because everything is created from initially a good, loving idea, because there's only love in the universe. So depending on how much shadow buffers love, it gets distorted, right? Because the way that you are loved or feel loved might be a trauma response. When they talk about the 5 love languages, those are all coming from a trauma response. If you feel that you can only be loved through acts of service, that's because you lacked service. Like you didn't have that. So it's coming actually from lack. It's not the way that you feel loved, it's what you believe you're missing, which is separation. This is why when we kind of return to the soul and the soul meets body, okay, there is this unification of wholeness, because I've shared with you guys that heaven is a pattern, and that pattern is wholeness, and the wholeness is the Trinity, and it is soul that then intuitively speaks to the heart, which births thought. Okay, instead of just grabbing thoughts from the field and then shoving them into the heart and then figuring out a way to lovingly do something with the thought and then taking action, completely bypassing the gut energy, completely bypassing the soul. Okay, every single thing we've been doing has been coming from loving intentions, but we haven't been operating from a holistic spectrum. And this is what is going to turn on that junk DNA, which was never junk, and help us not only return to our natural kind of origin state of being without you trying to figure out what state of being to get, is you'll return to this origin and you'll be operating from the soul rather than the mental world of simulation. Okay. And so I really kind of want to dig into this download that I got. Let me make sure recording is. And you want to look at it like one of my favorite movies, of course. And of course, I'm always ahead of my time. Last year for Halloween, I was The Fifth Element. Okay. And if you've seen that movie, it's divine feminine coming to save the world, acting as the fifth element. So you, when you are in your soul embodiment, you control the elements, which means you control fire, you control water, you control earth. This is where all of that dominion talk comes in. If you're operating from the fifth dimension or the fifth elemental. So you are the fifth element, all right? And your job is to basically take that commandment back, which is operating from wholeness, not separation. And so when you operate from the soul, everything is just about presence. It isn't about performing or participating. Okay. So your new identity is going to be present, which has been very difficult for us when we've been thinking past, present, future, and jumping from this timeline to this timeline to this timeline, this timeline. And what this equinox energy is really going to hold you accountable to is balancing you. So all of the work that you have been doing and feeling and all the somatic work and all the journaling and all the different ways that you have been channeling your inner desires, right, which are just memories from your higher self, that's going to start anchoring in through balance point, harmony, harmonizing, resonance, residential space. So when in doubt, just get present. Okay. No matter what is happening, the soul knows exactly what to do with your circumstances. Okay. The soul knows exactly why you're in that hot water or in that cold water. The soul says, this is perfect. Right. One of my favorite words in the alphabet is the P, right? It's the 16th letter. 1 + 6 = 7. It's a cycle. So if we look at our CPR model, right, which is our curiosity and our creativity and our compassion, we want to find the P there, and we want to first pause and become present. All right. Now, those of you who are in the Decode the Mirror, I have like I said, a 4, 3, 2, 1 model that I'll be taking you guys in, because you're speaking from the fifth element, which is the fifth chakra, which is the word of God. So when you speak, that's you being the fifth element. All right. And you're going to be basically commanding, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're going to be working your way into reclaiming this body as the new ruler, right? Because if your cells are the citizens, who's been ruling them? A tyrant? You know, someone who's missing in action. If we just look at our presidents the last few years, you can see as above is below. It hasn't really been fair, has it? So if we become a divine ruler of this inner kingdom, then the cells of our body, which are the citizens, and look at your organs as the politicians, you'll see that all we're doing is we are reconfirming wholeness from separation. And we don't want to make it more complicated. We don't want to get into spiritual doctrine here. We want to just get back into really numerology basics and understand that at this point of the shift, you are not ruled by anything other than who's running the show here, right? Because your puppet strings have been cut. But if you're still operating as, okay, right, then, and you don't remember, that's our third point in our CPR, right? Reconcile, reset, recalibrate, repurpose, shadow, then nothing's going to really shift, and these loops are going to get really obvious in the coming months. You're going to really start to see your operating system, and because the soul is merging deeply within the body, whether you like it or not, there's not going to be a lot of fear around it. You're not going to have a lot of fear around this. You might have more grief, because we are mourning old timelines. We are mourning an old world. We're mourning our old self. The ego has to mourn the fact that its presidential time is up. It can't renew. It's done. And so there is going to be strange morning happenings within you. And I would say, let it rain, let it purify you, let that baptism like work. If you feel depression, if you feel a strange sense of like lack of motivation, the best thing you could do right now is kind of get out of the way and allow the soul to fully take command of the ship, because you are the mothership. We're not waiting for the mothership. We are the mothership. And that is really the best thing you could do right now, is get out of the way. Like, your job is not to think your way into your next situation or your next idea. Or like, if you don't have a job right now that you are loving, that's like, working for you, and you know exactly the road you're on, I would say don't try to build that road right now. Okay? Because there needs to be this integration, this unity first. This is the most important thing, is to create that unity first, and then let the soul just take care of it. You get to be, let's look at the second coming, guys, as your second childhood. Let's really just celebrate the fact that we are breaking this jail cell, and that we are stepping into the best second childhood of your dreams, as long as you don't try to, you know, try to be a grown up here. Okay. And like try to make your life decisions based on this lack of integration. Because like when the presidents are like shifting in and out of office, like there's got to be a buffer of time from us to move from chronos, okay, which is linear time. Okay, it's a false calendar, it's false systems, to Kairos, which is divine feminine, which is A equals Z equals B equals D. You're going to be going in all different directions, and it's going to make total sense to you, because the Kairos energy goes with Mother Earth's cyclical cycles rather than the rules of this game. And that's going to have to be a reorganizing. So if you have mastered the 7 hermetic laws, the only way that you master 7 hermetic laws is to realize that you're playing a game of duality. Even the game of heaven on earth is going to be in a dual nature, because you need 2 aspects to create form, by being the non-duality, by being the non-judger, right? Which means that there can't be any judgment of that full system out there, and for you to collapse that reality. Because anything you give your presence to is your power. So it's like, I was sharing this with Donna yesterday. It's like, if you've made it through the threshold, which obviously you're here, and I see you didn't disappear, right, into the rapture, then you're going to be dealing with a new collective. Okay. This new collective, so far, what I can see when I go into trance, is there's 4 different aspects always in a collective, in a matrix. And just to give you kind of like the personality types of these 4 collective energies you're going to be around. Number 1 is going to be the one who is just waking up, and maybe hasn't even all the way woken up, but they're in a pain loop cycle right now that's really pressurizing them to awaken. Okay, this is going to be the caliber of humans that are feeling very single, very alone right now, very isolated. They're going to feel like the black sheep. They're going to feel like all the pressure is on them. They're going to feel like they're the smartest people in the room and no one understands them. If they're a woman, they're going to feel like there's no good men out there, and everybody's gay and all this. And if you're a man, you're going to think like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. What am I supposed to be building? Okay, that's the first kind of kindergarten collective of the new fifth dimension. The second road there, or the second group of humans that have evolved past that, are going to be kind of the ones that are really pissed off. Like, it's like you first wake up and you like start bitching and moaning, and then you get really angry. So you start to realize the lies, and you're out there as a conspiracy theory and a whistleblower and all these things. And you're going to get really like profoundly have a desire for everybody to know the truth. Okay. Like, you're going to just like, I want to shake people, and you're going to want to like, this is the flat earth, and you're going to be there. Okay. And that's perfect. That third group of the collective is going to be the gurus, the ones who have kind of accepted that it's a game, have kind of like moved into the center of, right? We're moving from duality. I'm not picking a side. I see both sides. I know that we're ending the cycle, and they're going to be really focused on nervous system. Okay. They're going to be the nervous system gurus of this new collective. They're all going to be nervous system based. Like they're going to be somatically pushing at you and selling expensive workshops and all kinds of stuff, which is wonderful, right? Because we needed all that. The fourth group in this new world energy are the ones celebrating the kingdom. That's it. The ones who are like, we've arrived, we've returned, we remember. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect, but they're not pushing, they're not needing, they're not saviors, they're not healers. They don't wake up with a download and get on TikTok. They're not going to be, they're going to be like writing music, right? They're going to be speaking poetry. They're going to be dressing for the job that they want. They're going to be building their inner kingdom. They're going to be making peace with their bodies. They're going to be dancing. They're going to be storytelling. They're not going to push their doctrine. They're going to just share, well, this is what happened to me. Donna was saying that yesterday, like, I'm just sharing now. Exactly. You're here to be the influence, not the teacher, right? And your influence is going to be the glow that you see from the inside out, which means that it's no longer going to be outwardly focused on how do I look. It's going to be, am I a glowing being? Am I radiating that we've already arrived? It's almost like you move into your new house. It's not perfect yet. You still got to get it all set up. You still got to like be the artist of the new architecture. Okay. And so that's going to be pretty much what you're going to see now, because you have lived in that other parasitic collective for most of your life. You're going to also see that get real, what's the word? Mimicky. Okay. So parasitic energy is a mimic. So you're going to see a lot of false light. You're also going to see a lot of tragedy, but you'll notice that it won't necessarily affect you. Right? It won't be like in your direct family so much, or if it is in your direct family, it's going to be the people that you don't really see ever. Okay. But there will be that kind of glass wall, like you're at the zoo and it's like, you might be able to see it, but I'll tell you, the more and more you let go of the belief system and the more you integrate the ego, the less you'll even see it. Right. And if you do see it, all you'll desire to do is glory stream more from the kingdom, so that your music, your art, your book, your story can reach. That's the only desire you're going to have in that kind of metaphor. So that's like the coming attractions as far as energetically, like what we can expect while we're expecting. But we've actually birthed. We're no longer kind of pregnant with this new world. Now we're like, what do I do with this new baby? Okay. Now you got to learn how to be a mom and a dad and a child again in the new earth, acting as a representative. Okay. Not like a venturer trying to get somewhere. You're going to be acting as a representative, not a researcher. You see the difference there? You're no longer a seeker. You're a support system. Okay. You're not a savior. You're a sanctuary. Just feel that for a minute. Feel the difference in that job, or I don't like that word, in that mission. Okay. You're a sanctuary, right? You're not a savior. You can't wake anybody up if you try. And if you want to wake up, the part of you that needs to wake up is the part of you that's waking them up. Okay, so it's a catch-22. And this equinox energy is residing at frequency 22 master builder, because it's here to balance duality. So all your duality is going to get balanced pretty much for the rest of this year. That's what the energy stream pressure and all the planetary alignments are going to act as the pressure cooker for you to balance your own duality, which means that if you are way on one side of the pendulum, get ready, because you're going to have to swing all the way over. All right. In order to get back to the balance. This is why, if you can become the observer of your own reality, you might have to get really dark to come back to the light. You might have to get really light first to come back to the center. Because we realize that the shadow has actually been our greatest spiritual teacher this whole time. The light never has taught us anything. It just illuminated what was in the shadow, which was us. So our shadow starts to become like, instead of something that we fear or we judge about ourselves, it is something that is an ancient wisdom that has actually learned from boots on the ground, gorilla living in hell. Only those who could survive hell with a pure heart could truly ever build heaven on earth. Heaven on earth could not be built by a pure soul directly from heaven, because they wouldn't understand or understand what it took to get you here. Okay, that's why with everything you've experienced in your incarnation has been so specific for your representation calling in the kingdom, because that experience has made you an expert, right? So that expertise comes from a deep level of compassion, right? If you've ever been shamed, you have compassion for those who are being shamed. Okay, if you've ever shamed someone else, you realize it was actually coming from a place of protection or love. You know, we don't shame and guilt our kids because we're evil. And if you look at the word evil and flip it other side, it says live. I'm going to live or I'm going to be evil. It's just a choice at this point, because the whole time we've just been operating from the inside out, upside down world, which is hell, right? Operating from 3 hijacked chakras, right? So when root is hijacked by old bloodline ancestral trauma and false systems, this is pretty hard life for all of us, right? And then you try to create some sort of abundance and partnerships out of the sacral with that. You know, that's a lot of heartbreak and a lot of rejection and a lot of abandonment and a lot of scarcity. And then, you know, you try to be your solar self, which is the sun within you, the central soul, seat of the soul. You try to be the avatar of those 2 hijacks. You aren't really going to like all your behavior. All right. So then, you know, you get into the heart's not judging any of it. The heart's going to be that neutral editor. Okay. So again, we're going to now kind of reclaim the land that was stolen from us, which is our bottom 3 chakras. And that's where the soul will reside. Okay. It's going to be like the sunrise and the sunset within us every day. And we're going to be practicing, and we're going to be present, and we're going to be pausing instead of participating and performing. All right. We're going to kind of replace the circus act that we've had to play to get love, you know, to show up for people. And if you are a practitioner or a teacher and you're feeling very unmotivated to go out and teach another course, then you're probably exactly where you should be. And if you're worried how you're going to pay your bills, right, which we all have had that thought and that feeling, this is when you have to learn to get present. Because like I said in the first beginning, is the soul has a plan for you that the ego has never stopped and been in the present moment long enough to even look at it. Because remember, your ego consciousness is operating from fear of the future and pain of the past. Fear of the future, pain of the past, fear of the future. And so it's never safe in the present moment. Matter of fact, the present moment is boring and it's horrible. So the ego consciousness doesn't want anything to do with the present moment. It is future focused. And again, there's a whole collective of manifestation students that are operating from ego consciousness, living in the wish fulfilled, which is the future concept, because they're afraid of recreating the past. But trust me, they will learn. They will learn through the discipleship and the discipline that their soul is about to enforce. Because again, like I said, if you look at gut health just as a as within is without. Like the gut health is going to represent your ability to create serotonin and melatonin, which is I feel safe and I create in the void. That's what serotonin and melatonin mimic in the physical. So when you have a jacked up gut, right, and you're not digesting, look at that. What am I not digesting? I'm not anchoring, I'm not grounding, I'm carrying weight. That's all going to start to shed with doing nothing for the gut. Okay? Except practicing the presence. That is going to be your new doctor. Is get present. Because like I said, Gaia is anchoring and can hold you until your soul can hold you. Gaia is going to be that kind of, we're gonna, children are modeling their parent constantly. And the more you can put yourself into nature, your body will start to feel the lack of puppeteering and start to need to hold on to something, and it will start to hold on to Gaia, which is a way better model. And naturally, through that child parent mimicking modeling, your body will begin to become in rhythm of Gaia without you doing anything. Okay? You're just supposed to say, oh, I'm not going to participate or perform, so I'm going to go get present. And that's like putting the ego in the backseat driver and just get in the back, right? You're no longer driving. There can't be any push here. There can't be any force here. This is an allowing. This is a reharmonizing. This is you moving back into vibrational alignment. This is you finding your rhythm. And the rhythm is balance. And that's not very sexy. But it's like if I can find my inner balance right now, then I can anchor into something solid. Because if I'm too hot, if I'm too love and light, or if I'm too dark, I'm going to have to swing all the way back. And I'll tell you, it totally makes sense for my last 3 years of like working my way as a love and light, had to go all the way into, that was just my pendulum reorganizing, and the ego can judge all at once about how horrible it was, because it was really shitty. But that was where the fertilizer was, right? And I needed the 3 years to compensate for the 47 years of seeking the light and being terrified of the dark. I needed those 3 years to allow the pendulum to swing all the way back, and literally didn't have much say in it. And there was nothing I could really do any time during those 3 years that really ever like moved the needle, let's say, because it was almost like the story's over and now it's resetting. So everybody's going to go through their own way. So if you're hearing me talk but you're feeling like there's a lot of darkness in your life or a lot of confusion, all that means is that your pendulum needs to swing back over to that darker place so that you can feel those darker feelings that you were never allowed to feel, or the things you need to speak that you were never allowed to speak, or the boundaries that you have to put in because you were never allowed to put boundaries in. You're gonna have to go back to every trauma where you rejected and abandoned yourself and rebalance the field, which means you can't be soul embodied and have shadow consciousness that you are still rejecting and abandoning about yourself. Okay? You cannot. If the soul loves every part of you, the most evil, which is just absence of light, aspects of you, the soul is absolutely madly in love with those parts of you. Okay? It sees it the same as the ones who've never been in the dark. It loves it. It actually respects the shadow, because the shadow is the one that walked separate from source, and yet instead of bitter became better. Right? So if you look at all this I've been through in my life, and I haven't become bitter. I've become better. If everyone that hurt you brought you to self-love, your soul's doing its job. If every heartbreak turned you into a beautiful mosaic, your soul is doing the job. If you're turning that shame into new confidence, the soul is doing its job. If you are seeing guilt, right, as instead of self harm, you are in self forgiveness, the soul's doing its job. So, like I said, it's a very natural experience that's going to be unfolding. But remember, when you haven't done something that was in your nature, because your whole system was trained to be in opposition of true nature, it's going to feel very uncomfortable, uncertain, impossible. You might have no motivation. You might have insanely a lot of motivation right now because your ego's got its last wind. Okay. If you're like highly motivated right now, okay, that's your ego just saying, I've got one last shot. So let it ride. Let it do what it needs to do, because the ego is harmless in nature, because it is still an aspect of you trying to parent and protect you and to keep money in your bank because it doesn't know you are money. Okay. It's trying to keep food on the table because, it feels that the hunger that it's feeling is coming from a need in the fridge when it's actually coming from you being a salt battery that's not properly charged, right? You are a salt battery, which means that if you don't charge that electromagnetic energy, you're going to feel hungry, right? So again, the things, if you are in that presence, you're going to have this whole new like intuition that's going to come in, and it's not going to be like excitement or passion. It's going to be like logical next step. Like, I need to go outside for a bit. I need to go breathe. Okay. It isn't going to be like, I need to go purchase this $20,000 blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be that. Right. And now if you're in this group right now and you're feeling like you're still stuck in a really old program somewhere where maybe you've put a lot of blind spot. And I'll tell you, anywhere there's a blind spot, you're in judgment. That's it. And why I created the Decode the Mirror for myself, honestly, it is because there's areas of judgment that I can't see within myself. So if I'm going to take myself through it, might as well take you through it, right? Because there's no perfection here. This whole last week of this eclipse energy, 2 days I couldn't get out of bed. My body was like, just stop. It's like a kid who is trying to get out of the car seat, right? And the body was just like, just no. Like I could not get, no matter how badly I wanted to, like do all the things that I wanted to do. My body was like, nope. So I had to just be. Okay. So again, if you have kind of rendezvoused in your orbit where you've been doing enough shadow integration, your soul is going to start kind of trumping or vetoing your need to be and do. And you're going to find yourself being forced into just being, or forced into resting, or forced into recalibrating, or forced into what seems like an outside circumstance, which never is. Okay, so that's kind of like where we're sitting in right now as far as our collective goes, especially us, because we've been working on this shadow work for so long that the spiritual ego, right? We've got the regular ego that's survival-based needs, and then we've got the spiritual ego that's savior-based needs. Okay, and those two are kind of like they're running out of steam, because what feeds an ego consciousness is outside. Okay. Because ego doesn't know that you're light. So it believes that it has to go get the light. So when you are led by your diet, or you are led by money, or you are led by another person, or you're led by whatever's happening out there, that's ego being led. So the soul leading the body is going to tell you, first seek the kingdom and be still. That's how so you may have both of those voices come up within you. And if you are judging anyone out there, anything out there, anything you're doing, anything you're thinking, anything you're feeling, because you have to unravel right now. And allowing yourself to unravel completely is going to reset your nervous system. Right? Again, like you can't go from deregulated, locked up, rigid, fear-based, very small thinking, feeling, breathing to expanded flow. There has to be an unraveling. All right. And the unraveling is going to look like lack of motivation. It's going to look like, I don't want to keep spending money on this outside thing. I don't want to be mission driven as far as what I do for money. I want to be led by what I do for love. So ego is led by outside value and success, and soul is led by inside love. All right. And showing people, sharing with people that they are loved too, and that they are already perfect, and they're going to go through their remembering and their unwinding. But even as tight and rigid and ego driven as they are, they're still perfect. That's what you're going to be representing. That's what you're going to be influencing. Okay. So it's almost like it's going to take imperfect, incomplete beings to demonstrate and hold space for those to let go. But you're not going to do that through the savior, the martyr complex, right? So the martyr is going to become the mediator. Okay, so like we're going to let that martyr energy go, and it's going to be kind of like, I'll tell you honestly what it's felt like. And I've probably used this analogy before, but it feels like, you've been kind of a caged animal your whole life, and now you're out in the wild. And that's like a whole different kind of scary. Right? And it's like, oh, there's plenty of like people and food, and who do I trust, and what's going to come get me at night? And it's just a completely different experience. And when people show you love, you're thinking, what's their agenda? What are they trying to do? Because again, you've built your whole reality around your 3 meals a day and your money in your bank, and now you're kind of like being set free in the wild. Okay, and it has its all different has a whole new kind of fear that there. And so the decode the mirror is kind of like, let me show you what the wild is telling you. Let me show you what that agenda actually is, which is no thing, and how to be safe in the body. Because remember, every time we have a trauma that we have rejected and pushed away, it has created its own identity. And through the identity, it has become its own I am consciousness. And therefore, because it's separated from source, it will hold entities. So those parts of you are possessed. Okay. And you've seen possession really obviously in other people when they just flip on you. But if you can hold your center and stay out of judgment for what you are witnessing within yourself and others, you will start to see nervous systems soften in your presence. And Donna shared a story yesterday about one of her clients where she just felt inspired to just hold space and share, and just witness with no judgment, and watched her client literally soften and relax, but she didn't really coach. Welcome to the new world. Like that's our new style of coaching. So we still will be needed, but it will come from just come into my orbit and you will soften. Come into my reality where for the first time in ever, you're not going to be judged. I'm not looking at what's broken within you. I'm looking at you as just a safe place for you to unwind. If you need to speak something crazy, good, let it out. It's not going to trigger some sort of modality that I'm going to shove at you. It's going to be allowing you to just be, right? So imagine that you get to the gates of heaven and you got 16 masks, okay? And every time you take a mask off, the gate opens a little bit. And every time you take another mask, the gate opens a little bit more. And so you're going to go through your unmasking phase. That's it. That's all that's left. And every time you unmask, the nervous system expands. Some of you have been feeling that stretching feeling, that kind of ripping feeling, that inner kind of rumble, or people are experiencing it all differently, but every time you unmask, which means you look at your own shadow with presence, love, and acceptance instead of trying to fix or change something, you expand. So imagine that the whole entire universe got shoved into a little tiny body, and now bit by bit, your blood, your cells, your whole system is now going to start letting that light out and expanding that. But there's nothing to do except be the light. Right? So when you're in the world of evil, which is the opposite of live, you don't breathe, you chase light, you chase all the things that are light outside of us, like food and money and attention and all that. And the more you become the light, all right, then all you're going to be doing is literally walking into rooms and watching nervous systems relax in your presence. That's going to be your superpower, at least for the next 48 months, okay, until the next shift comes. So we're in our unmasking phase, we are in our expansion phase, we are in our reconciling phase, we are in our rewinding phase, recalibration, resurrection, resetting, repurposing shadow, okay? So there's a little bit of interesting things that we're going to be going through in the decode the mirror, and it's really interesting what Spirit told me to teach you guys, or not teach you because it's not teaching, but is that in order to get to the top of the false light world, you go through, there's like 27 I think it's initiations, and one of them is grand humiliation, okay, like on a public scale. There is sacrifice, okay? There is self-betrayal, and then there's mimicking. There's 27 different things that I'm going to take you guys through. And what's interesting, and it sounds like horrific when I say this, but if you actually take yourself through those things intentionally, you'll clear out all your own duality, which means if you actually go towards humiliation, instead of letting the humiliation find you, if you go towards it, it will turn right into humility. If you sacrifice right now, the false light that you're attached to right now, you initiate. Because again, we are playing the exact same game. You're like, Jess, you want me to humiliate myself? It's an actual ritual that's keeping you from unwinding. If you're avoiding humiliation right now, you will not ascend. And when I say ascend, I mean anger. Okay? If you are avoiding sacrifice right now, and I don't mean your firstborn, okay? Sacrificing your own attachments to the old world. That's why I said there's a lot of grieving that has to happen. Because if you've ever seen, and I don't want to say this, and there's a famous, I won't say his name, but there's a famous, probably the most famous basketball player in the world. There's a video of him crying on the floor after losing someone he loved, and you're witnessing a sacrifice of losing his old life in order to make it to the top. Now, the way that we do that through the living world, which is heaven on earth, is we do not sacrifice our people. We do not sacrifice our family. We sacrifice our attachments. So if I am still acting like my father's daughter, I will have to sacrifice that, which means that my biological, if I'm still acting like the abuse that I was given in childhood, I have to sacrifice that. So when I take you guys into the decoded 27 points of the ritual points, you'll see that it's not bad or good, but the way they're doing it is to separate that soul and body so much, right? Under the guarantee that they will have the light that they need to live out infinity. And what we're doing is we're going to go through the same points to become the light, because the 7 harmonic laws are played on both sides. I don't make this stuff up. And what I've seen over the last 3 years is I went through deep humiliation. I went through loss of all the attachment. My soul had literally taken me to these 27 points like I was going through the occult. I had no idea until I actually channeled it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm so glad I did not know that, because that would have been horrific. There's things that your soul does not tell you until after the fact. Okay. And trust me when I say that you have done that as a parent so many times, where you have taken your child through something or had your child go through something that you did not tell them what they were going through until after, because you knew that they did not have the emotional maturity or the deep, grounded resonancy to be able to handle the experience until after the fact. So again, whatever you're going through is you're going to grow through it. And wherever you are, everybody's storyline is very different, because like you're a piece of the puzzle, I'm a piece of the puzzle. There's no hierarchy. It's all commonwealth. It's all common unity. But if you do not unmask, you won't be in the right shape to fit. You won't fit. And that will not be coming from God or creator or even your soul saying you don't fit. That's your old story. The only reason that you didn't fit anywhere is because you had to mask to live. And that's one of the Matrix's greatest aspects and tools, is to get you so masked up that you feel like you are not understood by anyone anywhere. Like even the people who are the closest to you, if you're like, they don't really know me. They don't really know this part of me, because again, we're so masked up. That's how we have hidden our light. And John and I were speaking yesterday. It's almost like, as an artist, we create from the light inside of us, and then we have to sell our art for money, for light, and then eat with it, which I think is so hilarious. Like, I'm the light. I produced this body of, like, this album I created last night and this morning. That's my artist. That's my light. That's my shadow wisdom I'm giving you guys. I'm giving you the breath work. I'm giving you all these things. And then it's like, if no one buys it, I don't care, because I'm still going to eat. But if I needed to eat from that album, it would feel way different. You see? So it's like, if we birth something outside of us and then we need to get paid for it, that's going to have to be a sacrifice, which means that you're not going to get paid for that as a part of the humiliation ritual, if that makes sense. That's just a glimpse of what we're going to be doing in that class. For you guys, okay, we want to go through where we are right now and take ownership. Y'all want the fifth dimension, so you have to become the fifth element. Maybe you need to go watch that movie. It's awesome. Okay. It's so many metaphors if you put yourself in her position. Now, guys, I'm not saying you're going to become a woman. I'm going to say that your divine feminine is going to recalibrate your own masculine by you feeling your feelings, by you holding space for those feelings, by you letting go of the attachments, of holding on to your own sexual life force. This is going to be the way that your soul will recalibrate you. All right. And that will happen through your divine feminine. That will resurrect the true masculine king, creator, the right hand of God that you were designed to be. Because only in our right design, righteous thinking, okay, super consciousness, do we actually have dominion. So what we want to do is say, okay, I want to be in the fifth dimension, therefore I have to act like the fifth element. And the fifth element is the witness, it is the void, it is the dark, it's the black hole. It is also the one who works with the four elements. So if I was going to be an artist, and I was here to work with the four elements, and when I say command, I don't mean enslave, but the fire is in service to you. Okay, the water is in service to you. The earth is in service to the ground, the wind. And the more that you take ownership of yourself as the fifth element, the more that these elementals, the whole other guidance community, right? There's not just angels in the etheric space, angels of the elemental space, the fairies, they all are in your service, but only if you are demasked. Because they don't recognize you. They're like, who are you? Matter of fact, I don't recognize you, so you're a threat. So if you have environmental allergies, you have become a threat to those elementals. Like, oh, I can't touch grass. Grass is here to be in service of you. Okay. So you want to look at, you're going to be recovering and unmasking, and all of a sudden, the trees and the grass and the wind and the water is going to start recognizing you. And then they're going to say, let's play. And this is where all the superhero powers come in, and you're starting to move the winds, and you're starting to do all of these things around you, and you're going to recalibrate your kingdom, and you're going to birth it outside of you based on the elementals. So if I'm the fifth element, that's my fifth chakra, all right, then that's going to dictate what I see through my projector. And it's going to also be the throne that I sit on as the witness. So the kingdom that I will rule will come from what my fifth chakra directs. So what we're doing is we're kind of like, fifth dimensional energy is locking in. Equinox, Master Builder 22. We're neutralizing duality. We're becoming the central witness. And now we're going to start reclaiming our own land. We're going to reclaim our own sun. We're going to reclaim our abundance. We're going to reclaim that truth, that rooted seed energy. And we're going to do that from knowing that we are the source. Okay. So I have this kind of breathwork game that we're going to be doing in the new group, where after you do I don't know, it takes like maybe 2 minutes to do this little process. Then you actually go around and you like pretend, like you pretend with the water, you pretend with the air, you pretend and pre-attend. That's what that means. So you're going to be playing a lot more. And the reason why you're going to be playing a lot more in pretending is because you're probably going to be a little bit bored, right? And I don't mean bored in the way where, there's nothing to do, right? I mean, you can definitely use one of those demons of distraction if you want, but if you understand that, like, your drive and your dedication is in the unmasking. And every time you unmask, you'll start to see that nature starts to work with you instead of against you. Okay. So let's say your soul is like, I do not want you to be in Texas. Okay. Or your soul says, well, your shadow is in New York, but your soul actually is going to be residing here. It isn't until you unmask that you'll be able to move. Okay. Because the mask is keeping you in a false residency, which means that if you don't love where you're living right now, it's because you're vibrating to the ego consciousness and not the soul consciousness. So get ready. There might be a move coming for you. All right. And why this equinox and eclipses have been so ultra rough for like the mutable signs is because we've been the ones that have been kind of playing both sides. Like, we've been playing both sides, like as a Gemini. And so it's almost like a lot of tough love for the Pisces and the Gemini energy, because again, it's like, okay, you guys have to become the middle, become the anchor point, right? And take your focus off of what is leaving and what is happening and who you are becoming or remembering. Because like I said, we're not becoming anything, we're just unmasking. And through the unmasking of just being present. So let's say you have a financial issue, just be present with it. If you have a body issue, you're just present with it. Because honestly, the issue is saying that there's a belief that the light is outside of me. But if I become present, now the light is inside. So it's just a matter of time until the abundance redirects. So if you're lacking metabolism, okay, that's because you believe the metabolism is outside of you. If you're lacking the money, it's because you believe the money's outside of you. And that will recalibrate on its own through presence. Because the more your cells are like, whoa, she's in here. She never comes. Well, she's here again today. Oh, she's here. Now they start to open up, right? And they start to play with you. So this is where the kingdom is within. And I don't mean you're going to be still and meditating, because there's not 1 ounce of the day, unless I'm like magnetized to the bed, which has happened, that I am like sitting. I'm doing things. I'm just not doing what the ego would like to do. right? I'm not building some legacy business right now. Okay. Like my soul let me build the record label. It let me build the publishing company. It let me build the new community. It let me build several, like write all these books. And then it said, okay, now your foundation is built. Now you have to unmask. And I'm like, wait, I thought we were going. It's like, no, now you're going to unmask. So when the edits come from the books, that's an unmasking. When not thousands of people come to the community, that's an unmasking. All right. If I get a negative review, that's an unmasking. I have to go through my unmasking at every other layer. And when I finally find peace with, well, yeah, it's perfect, then it shifts. Okay. Because you have to go have another childhood, which means that you're going to start at the beginning. But this time, nature, your soul, right? The sun, the elements are all going to be your parents. So you're going to be modeling a whole new environment, even if you're kind of forcing against it, like that wild animal. It's like, just return to the presence, return to that presence. Okay. So this concept is last night I wrote the album mostly for you guys in this class, because the other group is going to go way deeper into the initiation ritual stuff to just clear out the contracts. Okay. For you guys, if you listen to the album, we also created some PDFs that go with it. And I have your focus on acting as that fifth element and using the 4-3-2-1 method. And what that's going to look like is through the director of my North Star, my truth, I'm going to pause and I'm going to find my center. Okay. So when you find your center, you're going to pause. And the words you're literally going to say, and I have a video that I'll share with you guys that I recorded for the other group, but the breathwork concept I'm going to give you guys, because I don't want to give you too much if you're not interested. That's why it's not that I'm not giving you guys the whole decode dimmer because you don't deserve it. It's, I know what I'm worth. All right. And I have been like giving myself away to you guys for years. And now I'm actually charging a little bit more of what I'm worth, which means I'm going to be able to go a lot deeper. And I know that the value is there on your end. Okay. Because if you don't pay something, then what's your value to do it? If I give you a class, you're like, yeah, watch the class. But if you're paying something, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna do that embodiment work. Okay. And those of you who actually have signed up for the Decode the Mirror, I know that you're ready for these 27 initiations. I know you are, because it's your mirror. It's going to be all of your unmasking in basically alphabetical order. Okay. Now over here, if you guys look at yourselves as, I've got this, please, I'm going to give you every tool for the rest of this year. So I am the fifth element because we are in the fifth dimension officially as of now. Now I need to act as if, which means I can command both hands, and I call this a shadow sandwich, okay? Because it's the left hand that loops the story, goes to the heart, instead of right hand on the heart, which is super consciousness, and the right super consciousness holds the shadow. That's why we do the both hands on the shadow sandwich. So we're holding shadow because we love shadows so much. Shadow has been the only reason we're still alive here. Okay? We're holding the shadow sandwich, we're breathing, and we are saying, I return to my center. Now I'm going to imagine the quantum field, because this is where I connect to the field. This is where all the timelines are. This is where my infinite possibilities are. This is where my new state of being resides. This is where all the new players and all the new playgrounds, this is where I get to choose what store and what life I go into. I'm going to find my center. I'm going to return to my center. Those are the words you say with your fifth chakra, the word of God. And there's a breath tone that you'll go with it. You guys will have all this. And you'll go second, after you go through the little breath cycle, and you're also going to be doing a movement, which means you're going to be doing a 3-point breath hold. and you're going to be moving the body. So sometimes it's an infinity, sometimes it's a circle, and the last point's going to be a squat. It's all intentional. Okay. So second shot, that third chakra, we're going to go down, shadow sandwich, and we are going to say, I now return, because I now is present moment, right, to myself. Because this is all of me. This is the Son of God. This is the center. This is the seat of the soul. This is the actor. This is the one who's been out there behaving. This is the body. This is the cells. This is the center, the sun of yourself. Okay. I return to myself, and you'll do your breath cycle. You'll do your motion. You'll complete the cycle. You'll shadow sandwich down into your sacral. I now return to my full abundance. Abundance definition: I get to do whatever I want to do with whoever I want to do it, where I want to do it, how I want to do it, with whom I want to do it, where I want to do it, when I want to do it. That's abundance. Okay. And you're going to go through the motion of that, breath and movement, because you're collapsing the old timeline and you're unwinding your nervous system through intentional presence, focus, and direction. Because remember, this is your director. You're directing body back into harmony, rhythm, and vibration. Those are the Hermetic laws. You're actually now putting your body into the presence that you seek, physically, emotionally, chemically. Okay? Then we're going to go down to the root chakra, shadow sandwich. And we're going to say, I now return to my source. Okay? Source, we think is up here. It is, but it's also down here. As above is below. Okay? So the void is also source. This is where all your seeds are. This is where Gaia is going to hold you. This is where your architect is going to build. This is your reclaiming of your land and your sovereignty. So I return to my source. And as you breathe, hold, let go into that Trinity formula, you will feel different. Okay, so this is going to be your nervous system regulation, your allowing soul to get into the driver's seat and ego to the back. And I'm recommending 3 times a day. Okay, if you can do it morning, noon, at night, like follow the circadian rhythm, maybe like first sunlight and last of the sun, perfect. But otherwise, just when you can. Because you also want to get back onto Gaia's calendar instead of, the jokers, right? You're kings and queens, you're not jokers. So following sun up, sundown, that's you. Okay? And so if you can do this at a 3-point trinity, it will anchor quicker. And you will remember, and you will remember, and you will remember. So kind of checking in those 3 points of your 24-hour a day. Okay. And you'll notice after about 2 days of this, your downloads will be different. Your needs will feel different. You'll start looking at the water like, I bet I could make a wave right now. You'll just start feeling the soul speaking directly. Even if the ego's still there, you'll feel it won't be like the quiet voice. It will be more of like equal, and then it will start to move ahead. Okay. So it's almost like ego's really loud and the soul's very quiet. And this will bring the soul and the ego into basically, instead of backseat driver, the ego will get into the passenger seat. And then if you keep going, the ego will get into the backseat. Doesn't mean it's still not gonna, tell you where to go, backseat driver style, but it will not even be part of your decision making. You won't feel fear. You won't feel physical human fear anymore at all. Okay. Instead of fear, you'll feel tired. Instead of fear, you'll feel sad. And that is actually fear turning back into truth. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel emotion. You might even feel real anger. That's truth. But fear was never who you were. You're the entire universe behind the mask. Okay? And again, the ones who are in control, they are source pretending to not be source. Okay? And they've just been doing it longer, and they have learned more about how to do it without source longer. That's it. That's the only reason they're way better at it than we were. So if you kind of look at it like it's just a game and now we have entered in. So if I want to be in the fifth dimension, I must become the fifth element. And that's the savior of your own universe. That's when you become the Christ of your own world. That's because you become the beacon of light, the lighthouse. Instead of constantly searching for the light in people, places, and things, you start to shine it, which means as a lighthouse or a beacon, you ain't moving around nowhere. You're like, I'm the light. Y'all can come here if you want. And that's where the magnetism begins. That's when people start to seek you out. No marketing involved. That's when the money starts to come without your effort. Okay, that's when the truth gets understood the first time you say it. That's when you start to see the oceans getting cleaned up instead of harvested. Like you start to see the mirror differently because you are projecting differently. So if we want the reflection to change, Bashar says this perfectly, you can't expect the mirror to smile if you're not smiling. Okay, so if I'm projecting that I am, right, the center, that I am myself, which is shadow and light, I am abundance of all things, and I am the source, and I inform and I remember and I remind my body of that 3 times a day. It's not going to take very long until this whole thing becomes harmonized and the body is working with you, not against you. Nature is working with you, not against you. Money is working with you, not against you. Your partner is working with you, not against you. So anywhere you feel something is against you, that's your mask that they're pushing up against, not theirs. So remember, projection is always followed. It's always going to show you the reflection, and the reflection is going to show you where you're projecting. So it's just a witness. And whatever you judge, you will be judged for, because everything is cause and effect in this universe. So if there's one part of yourself that you are still judging, that part of you will judge you. Okay, so that's where you got to fall in love with the shadow. Like, fall in love with your dark parts. Fall in love with the evil tendencies or the thoughts, because all that are saying is I want to be included and accepted, and all you've done is reject and abandon me. So I'm going to do something really bad, which means you're going to make a mistake or do something, which is you. Or somebody's going to do something really bad to you, and you now have an opportunity to fully accept them or accept you. The choice will be yours. But deregulated nervous system says, I must keep you away. I must judge you. I must hold you in contempt. I must hold you accountable. And the universe is like, dude, that was coming from inside you. So that will be an unmasking phase. And what's so cool about this is whether you do the decode class or not, which I don't care. I only want people in there that are like very anchored into this process with me, because it's so deeply emotional to my heart, because I've been doing this for 3 years, is you're going to go through it just like I did, and you're not going to know it. But I will tell you that if you feel humiliated or punished right now, or you feel like you're having to sacrifice, you're in your initiation. And if you can actually look at this as the logical next step to your reframing. So there's this great story, and I won't go into a long of it because I wanted to make this a shorter class, but there was a what are they called, metalsmith or whatever, where they like bend the metals and stuff, I guess blacksmith. And they were working with like silver and gold, and they had to keep they were trying to make it like a knife or something, and to get the shape correctly, okay, they had to hold the gold in the fire, like pure fire, not taking it out, like hold it into the fire. And what's interesting is someone will say, well, how do you know when it's done? When you can see your reflection in it, which means that you're going to be held to the fire until you can see Creator's reflection in yourself. So whatever fire you're walking through is your character redevelopment of who you are as God. All right, so just feel that. So again, now if Owen has got up to, I don't know if she's done it or not, but my part is done on the website. I haven't put it on the new album on all the social apps yet, like all the Spotify's and all that stuff yet, because there's a couple buttons I got to push so it doesn't go into 440. It takes a little bit longer. But when I put our album directly on our website, it stays at 432. This album is 174 and 432 because 174 actually recalibrates fragments. So, and there's a lot of light codes that we wanted to add in. And so we got it done this morning. So I just finished this album literally right before we got online here. That album will be up today. Every song is going to tell you this story. Okay. There's a 432 song. There's a Fifth Element song. So every one of those songs is going to help you guys remind. And then there's a couple like hooks and stuff that the architect recommended so that your subconscious mind will like remember the 432 1. So it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action, right? So this is where you want to be while you're rewinding and unwinding, recalibrating and demasking. Because you will go through your demasking and it is ugly and painful and scary. Okay? But if you know, right? I'm just under the fire. And again, that's going to really kick on desire because worlds are not built from a flicker. They're built from a flame. Your desire is not going to diminish, but it won't be the absence. Like desire is not absence of what is. Desire is remembrance of what you already have. I need you to anchor that in because your soul knows that. Like we already got this. So that's why we say receive because you're getting it again. Right? So you're not here to get something you've never had. You're here to unmask so that you are in vibrational resonancy of your kingdom outside of you, which will harmonize from the inside. All right? That's all I'm going to do today. I'm not going to overshare, just give you the basics of where we are, how we are, who we are, and let you take whatever nugget you want from this. And again, you're on your own storyline. You have your own, main character. Just don't be the loser of your own movie. Don't be the one who needs saving in your own movie. Okay? You're here to be the heroine and the hero, but not from the victim place. You're here to look at what you see as kryptonite and realize that it was never kryptonite. It was actually your greatest tool. Okay? And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this equinox because you're going to find yourself constantly getting gut checked right now because your gut is coming online. And so offering yourself lots of sunlight, lots of clean, charged water with your own impression in it. Don't look at something as bad or good, just it is what it is. If all you can eat is processed food right now because you got no money, then that is the best food in the world for you. Okay. If you're in a shit relationship, that is the best relationship in the world for you. You're not here to make moves outside of you. You're not here to get your world comfortable outside of you. You want to understand that the discomfort you feel outside of you is coming from the disharmony inside of you. And when you return to presence, you will become the present and the Santa Claus because you're also working from you're going to be doing the opposite of what love and light is doing, which is bypassing the bottom 3 chakras and running far away from the haunted house. You're going to be coming in and moving in and getting to know all the ghosts, which is actually the Holy Ghost. Okay, you're going to toast with the Holy Ghost. And that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be changing the unholy spirit into the Holy Spirit by becoming whole, which is the Trinity. Mind, body, soul. Okay. Or you can say mother, father, child, artist, architect, dream home. Okay. Well, however you want to do it, it's always going to be a Trinity, which means like any relationship that doesn't have a flow and grace and love in it right now is missing a third point, which means put creator in the middle of the problem, right? If me and money are not working together, I got to put creator in the middle. That's missing. Okay. Me and my spouse are not getting along. Got to put creator in the middle. guess what? I made a song for you. It's called Put Creator in the Middle. And that's to remind you that there is no suffering here. There's just a missing piece, because 1 + 1 = 3 in heaven. 1 + 1 = 2 in hell, and 2 never makes anything new. There's no new. It's just 1, 2. I feel alone. I feel like we're in this together, but we're not making anything new, which means nothing's growing from our relationship. If something is not fruiting, that is, you get a seed and you got some fertilizer. There should be something growing from there. So if your money feels like fertilizer right now, it just needs creator. Okay. If your relationship feels like fertilizer right now, it just needs creator, which is the sun and the water. Okay. So if you think of yourself as no different than the way nature is going to rebuild herself, she's shaking this off like a dog outside in the rain. She's not upset about any of this. She's like, whoa, that was interesting. Okay, now let's shake it off and let's begin again. And let's begin from the wisdom and the grace and the compassion of what we just walked through. We have been walking in the fire, and our truth is nothing more than our soul re-inhabiting the body. It's not a matter of if the world's flat or round. It is your truth is your center. And you get to check in with your timelines 3 times a day if you want. Like, visualize those timelines, because it's just open for possibilities. Those possibilities are not gone. They're infinitely around you. Okay. And if you can get back to yourself and you can get your cells on board, they will go from jail cell to a cell signal. And then you will begin to celebrate with your own abundance. You'll break the cell, your abundance will return. And then through the abundance, you'll have the harvest, which is source. Okay. All right, guys, have a great week. And some of you, I will see Friday for the open channel class or whatever class we're on this week. But those of you in the decode, you're getting this somatic body work, breath work combination that goes with the beginnings of the initiation. It's a side quest video that won't be live. But you have the album for those of you who are not joining us in the decode class, and you also will have a PDF of that basic breath work. Okay, so you're not left out, even if you're not going all in here, because some of you just got it. That's wonderful, perfect. Okay, I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.